Now let's be honest, so many sim racers in 2026 are talking about MOZA, and the reason for this is that MOZA have an ecosystem that goes from the complete entry level all the way up to serious high-end gear, with a clear upgrade path throughout that whole lineup, and they have become a genuine competitor to brands like Fanatec, Logitech, Thrustmaster and more. Now I've been testing MOZA equipment for years now, and I'm actually one of the few people in the world who has hands-on experience with basically the entire MOZA ecosystem. So MOZA asked me if I would go through the ecosystem and let you know the pros and the cons, what sits nicely, what sits in the right price brackets, what you should be looking at for certain types of racing. So big thanks to MOZA for sponsoring this video. Let's get straight into it. I'm going to start with the MOZA R3 bundle. Now this comes in two variants. It comes in an Xbox variant and a PC variant, and the pricing does differ. The PC variant, by the way, is $279, which is very cheap. PXN do a bundle with a direct drive that's about $240, so for about $30 or $40 more you get into MOZA's ecosystem with the upgrade path. The Xbox version is usually around $339. Now this is for anyone who's racing on Xbox, it's for anyone who doesn't want to spend too much money at the beginning on sim racing, but you want to have the latest technology, because the R3 bundle does include a direct drive wheelbase. That means you're not going to be messing around with belts or gears. It's going to be pretty silent, and it's going to be your fundamental start in sim racing, where you can upgrade. You can upgrade the pedals, you can upgrade the rims, you can upgrade that wheelbase as well. Now speaking of upgrading, next up is the R5 racing bundle. This is not Xbox compatible. In fact, nothing else I'm going to talk about from now on is Xbox compatible out of the box. However, you can always buy the MOZA ESX wheel to make your wheelbases Xbox compatible. But the R5 bundle comes with a 5Nm direct drive wheelbase. It comes with the same pedals and the same rim as you get in the PC R3 bundle as well, which is very interesting because the R3 bundle is around $399. So if you want to save over $100, you can do that by getting the R3 bundle and you'll have a slightly less powerful wheelbase. Or if you want to have a slightly more powerful wheelbase, you get the R5 bundle, but you pay over $100. So very interesting. Like I said, they both come with the SRP light pedals that are not load cell pedals, but you can modify them with springs, etc. And they come with that circular MOZA ES rim as well. By the way, that ES rim is also moddable, so you can change the rim size on that as well. Now, if you want to get more serious, now this is where I can start to recommend things for sim racers where you've already had a sim racing setup and you're looking to upgrade. Maybe you've got a G923 or a Thrustmaster T248R and you want to upgrade, because we're talking about the MOZA R9. In fact, the specific one I'm talking about here is the R9 V3 plus KS bundle, and this comes in at $539. So again, we're talking $100 and a bit more than the R5 racing bundle, but you're now getting a 9Nm direct drive wheelbase, which is pretty much in the sweet spot. I think a lot of people are running their direct drives at about 8 or 9Nm, so it's in that sweet spot, and you're also getting a actual proper GT form factor rim in the MOZA KS wheel. Now, important to note, you do not get pedals in this bundle, but again, I'm kind of assuming that if you're looking at this bundle, you're looking at upgrading, so maybe you already have pedals in your existing setup that you can plug into your PC separately. So the R9 plus KS bundle is $539. However, if you want to spend a bit more money, you can consider the R12 V2 plus KS bundle as well. So this is $639, so it's another $100, but you go from a 9Nm base to a 12Nm base. Now, my honest preference on this is I would save the $100, I would get the R9 and KS, and I would use that $100 elsewhere on my system, maybe getting better pedals, maybe getting an additional rim as well. That's my honest take for you guys, because I feel like the difference between 9Nm and 12Nm is not massive. I feel like you can be very smart here and save the $100. However, if you absolutely want 12Nm, then this bundle's available as well. By the way, make sure to use my affiliate link for MOZA in the description. It really helps me out if you do decide to buy anything. It's there for like US, UK, and everywhere else in the world as well. So already we're seeing some kind of like different sweet spots and different price bands where things make more sense than other things, if that makes sense. And now I want to talk about bases for a little bit. So this is the R9 V3 base, which is normally about $329, although sometimes it does go on discount. So if you just want to get the base, you can do that for $329. Now remember that R9 plus KS bundle I let you know about is $539. That's $200 more than this. However, let's say you already got the MOZA R3 but you want more power in your wheelbase, this would be the cheapest way to basically upgrade that system to 9 Newton meters, just getting the wheelbase itself. Otherwise, if you're coming into the MOZA ecosystem, remember that you're going to need a rim, you're going to need the wheelbase, and you're probably going to want to have pedals that just work natively as well. Although if you're on PC, remember you can normally run your pedals directly into your PC. It's not like on console where everything needs to be plugged into one system. On PC, normally your pedals can go straight to PC, but that does vary from brand to brand, model to model, but worth bearing in mind. Also, generally it's worth upgrading your pedals sooner rather than later. Now again, for completeness, this is the R12 V2 base. This is $429. So again, if you had something like the R3 system, or you want to have more power in your wheelbase, you want to go up to 12 Newton meters, you can get the R12 for $429. But again, I wouldn't do this. I would just get the R9 V3 and I would save the $100. Now this is a very interesting left field one because MOZA also do an R16 V2, and you may have seen me use this a lot on my channel. So this has been a real workhorse on my channel. It's been great for me. This is $469. So it's only $40 more than the R12, but you're getting 4 Newton meters more, which is absolutely fantastic. It's $10 per Newton meter, which is just great value. The reason why this is discounted, in my opinion, is because MOZA's moving to their ultra true torque wheelbases, and this is like an older generation. However, as I said, I've been using it for a long time and it's absolutely fine. So if you want to get a bit of a bargain, this is definitely one to look into on MOZA's site. It's the R16 V2. And now it's time for the big boy bases from MOZA, the R21 Ultra and the R25 True Torque Ultra. And I've tried both these wheelbases extensively, so I'm here to give you my honest opinion on them. The R21 Ultra is great. It's really good value for $699. You're getting 21 Newton meters. It's got the telemetry lights in it. Absolutely fantastic. So if you want to have a wheelbase that is basically going to be stronger than you can handle, you can now get that from MOZA for $699, which is very competitive pricing compared to the likes of Fanatec and SimMagic, etc. However, I do think that the R25 True Torque Ultra, which is $899, is more than $200 better than the R21, if that makes sense. There's some extra torque sensing stuff going on in the R25, and it's difficult to explain, but I've tried a lot with the LFE effects and stuff like iRacing, and I feel like the R25 True Torque Ultra is actually a step above the R21. So ultimately, if you want to have the best wheelbase that MOZA do, that is the R25 True Torque Ultra wheelbase, and I do think it is really worth it. So if you can go to an expo and try this out, do get hands-on with it, because the value for money here is kind of insane from MOZA. Okay, let's talk about wheels, because wheels are where MOZA really shines in their ecosystem. There's an unbelievable choice of wheels. This is where they've kind of left Fanatec behind, they've left Logitech behind, they've left Thrustmaster behind. There's so many wheel choices here in the MOZA ecosystem, and I've used them all extensively. I've even worked with a pro driver to map all of these wheels and work out which ones are faster, and to really interrogate the build quality and the dynamics and the balance of the wheel. Like, we really went into it. So I'm going to start with the MOZA KS wheel, which is a favourite of mine. It's about $229. Again, it does go on sale from time to time. It doesn't have the best build quality. Like, it might look carbon fibre, but it's not real carbon fibre. You can also see that on my one, the stickers are kind of ruined because I had to go into it and re-tighten the quick release because it was a little bit loose. However, the form factor is absolutely fantastic. It's an unbelievably comfortable form factor wheel. It goes toe to toe with the Fanatec CSL wheel. It's probably slightly better because it has the backlit buttons. It has the rev bar as well. It's a really good wheel from MOZA. So if you want to have MOZA's arguably best budget wheel, then definitely consider the MOZA KS wheel. Now, interestingly, for $100 more, you can get the MOZA KS Pro wheel. So this is $329, and it comes with an actual screen on it. It comes with like a nicer finish, like this forged carbon ES finish. It comes with more rotaries on the side, I think, as well. So this is a very interesting wheel from MOZA because it's got more bells and whistles. It's $100 more. However, from a performance perspective, I don't think it's going to make you any faster than the KS. So the KS is just as, inverted commas, fast as this wheel. Like the ergonomics are just as good. In fact, there's a lot going on with this wheel that might be too complicated for some people. However, again, for the pricing, to get a wheel with a screen like this for $329 is kind of insane. So if you want to have more bells and whistles, if you want to impress your mates, this is arguably the best wheel for you from MOZA, because it has this really fancy screen on it and it still has the DNA of the MOZA KS, which we know is a really fast wheel. Now this is probably MOZA's most interesting wheel, because this is the MOZA ESX wheel, and the X stands for Xbox, I presume. And this is an Xbox compatible wheel. And what this does, and I wanted to do an asterisk here because I haven't tried this with every wheelbase, but this is how it should work. This should make your MOZA wheelbases compatible with Xbox. So if you're on Xbox and you're playing Forza or ACC or Project Motor Racing or Rennsport or whatever, and you're doing that on Xbox because it's more convenient for you or whatever your reason, the MOZA ESX wheel can potentially unlock a lot of MOZA's ecosystem into Xbox for you, which is really interesting because people assume that MOZA's not in console. They assume that Fanatec, Logitech and Thrustmaster have console sewn up, but it's not the case. Like MOZA's ESX wheel is very interesting, and it's only $129. And to be honest, for $129, you might just be considering adding a circular wheel. I know it's like a flat bottom, but it's basically a circular wheel. Adding a small 280mm diameter circular wheel to your collection. So worth knowing about the MOZA ESX wheel. It's a very interesting wheel. This is a wheel that gets bundled also with the MOZA R3 Xbox version. So remember, that's about $330. So if you wanted to get a wheelbase and pedals that maybe you could try and sell as well, I don't know, you could get that for $330, or you can buy the rim for $130. It's very interesting. Now this is a MOZA CS Pro. This is very similar to the KS Pro. The pricing is the same, I believe, $329. It's a 325 diameter wheel, so in my opinion that's quite large. It does start to feel a little bit cluttered, in my opinion, similar to what I said to the KS Pro. If you look at where your thumbs sit, they're very close to the encoders above. Also, you can get additional paddles to add to the wheel, which I've done. You might see there on the top left, there's additional paddles there. So it can make the wheel seem quite cluttered, in my opinion. However, if you want loads and bells and whistles and you want to have a circular wheel, this could be the wheel for you from MOZA. It's got some really nice rotaries on the bottom with this new system where you can kind of like see the individual number and what you've got your settings set to. And it also has this forged carbon over aluminium, which is very nice looking. So this is a MOZA CS Pro, definitely worth knowing about if you've got the budget and you want to have another wheel with a screen on it. Okay, now it's time for what some people would say is MOZA's fastest wheel, and this is a MOZA FSR. There are two versions of the wheel, by the way, the FSR1 and the FSR2. Not too many differences between them. I've done a whole comparison. And that means that you might be able to get a bargain on the FSR1 if you can find it. But the official price for the FSR2 is $649. Now, the interesting thing about this wheel is that it's quite top heavy, which means that it wants to really turn in. So it has a real positive turn in. And that's a very different characteristic to a more neutral and balanced wheel. But this is MOZA's Formula wheel. It's got a screen in it. It's got backlit buttons. It's got a load of buttons on it, so definitely worth considering if you're looking for a Formula wheel. Now, the MOZA Porsche Mission R wheel is much more unusual. It has I say unusual, there's nothing in the world like this. It's got a curved OLED screen. It has interesting like suede Alcantara grips, but it's quite congested in the grips, I would say. It gets quite tight in there. But actually, because it's such a wide rim, it's 320mm compared to the FSR, which is 280. Again, it has a completely different characteristic, and I think it's quite a precise rim when it comes to mid-corner, because you can make those really precise adjustments. Now, this is definitely not going to be a rim for everyone. It's very expensive as well, $1,299. However, it is a replica of the wheel in the Porsche Mission R car, which is, I think, a one-of-one car that Porsche made to show like the future of motorsport. So very interesting rim, very expensive. Again, this is what I said at the beginning, MOZA going all the way from entry level to like ridiculous stuff at the high end. So if you want to show off to your mates, that could be an interesting wheel. Now, this is the MOZA truck wheel. Super interesting. Firstly, we did a test with this wheel, and actually you can be crazy quick on this wheel. It's got a 400mm diameter, which shows that maybe the wider that diameter on a wheel, the faster you can be, which is very interesting. This is obviously for stuff like American Truck Simulator, Euro Truck Simulator 2. However, you can sort of maybe get away with using it in open mod racing games as well, but it is just so big it will maybe like, you know, clatter your knees and stuff like that. If you do use it as it's intended for Truck Simulator, you should also think about getting a bracket for your wheelbases that basically tips up your wheelbases, so the angle of the wheel is more like a truck wheel. But a really interesting wheel from MOZA. It's only $229. It doesn't have any paddle shifters, by the way, which might sound obvious, but I just want to let you know. Now, other wheels that I'm not going to go into here, but I have loads of videos on, include the Lamborghini Revuelto wheel, which is an insane wheel, the Vision GS, also the Essenza wheel as well. So MOZA do more wheels, but I don't have enough time to cover all of them in this video. They're elsewhere on my channel. Now, pedals, SRP pedals, these are MOZA's entry-level load cell pedals. These have just been replaced by the SRP2 pedals. So again, you might be able to get a deal maybe on the original SRP pedals. They're about $129 and they are load cells. Now, I wasn't a massive fan of the original SRP pedals, partly because of the design of the pedal plates, to be honest with you. Like the really long throttle pedal and the really short brake just seemed like a bit unusual. Wasn't the easiest to mount either. However, because the SRP2s have come out, you can get the SRP original ones at $129 and the SRP2s are $149. So I'll have a review on my channel soon on the SRP2s, but both SRP2s are 100 kg entry-level load cell pedals from MOZA, which is really important because you want to get onto load cells as soon as possible. Thrustmaster had a big mistake, I think, with the T598 where you just couldn't get load cells. Logitech did not make that mistake with the RS50 where they bundled it with load cells, and MOZA have made sure to make the SRP2 and SRP2s at an affordable price factor so you can afford load cells even with the entry-level bundles. Now, I would recommend, if possible, if you can, thinking about moving to MOZA's CRP2 load cells, which I really enjoy. So again, the original CRP ones weren't my favourite pedals, again, some unusual pedal plates, etc. But the CRP2's really good pedal set. About $369. It's a 3-pedal set that comes with a 200 kg load cell, which is kind of insane. And also it forms a platform for the MOZA mBooster, which is a crazy thing we're going to get onto very, very soon. But the CRP2 pedals are great from MOZA in my opinion. So if you're looking for the best value for money upgrade you can do in the MOZA ecosystem, it's probably the MOZA CRP2s. I remember early in this video I said, oh, you know, I would save $100, I would get R9 instead of R12. That's where this $100 maybe allows you to get the CRP2s instead of getting the SRP2s. And then this is a really good mid-level set from MOZA. Now, I mentioned MOZA's crazy mBooster. What is that? That is an active pedal from MOZA. It's only the second commercial active pedal on the market after Simucube and is much cheaper than Simucube. So whereas Simucube's active pedal can cost more than $2,000, MOZA's mBooster active pedal can cost just $799. I say just, it's still really expensive, but in comparison with the Simucube. Now the Simucube still has, I think, the best software to go with their active pedal. They've been doing it the longest, but I've been using the mBooster and it is a good active pedal. Like, it does give you the fundamental functionality when it comes to adjustability, but also the inbuilt haptics like ABS, etc. So this is MOZA's ultimate pedal. By the way, a few ways to do it. You can either get the CRP2s initially and then get the mBooster for $799, or you can, for $999, get a mBooster with a CRP2 throttle, and that's kind of your set there. So 2 ways of doing it. I like the fact that it goes on to the CRP2 set because it means that, again, it's an upgrade path from the CRP2s if you want to do it in the future. And that kind of wraps up everything I wanted to talk about in this video. We talked about bundles, we talked about bases, we talked about rims, we talked about pedals. So much going on with MOZA. Hopefully you found this helpful. Any other questions, let me know in the comments. If you've got MOZA equipment, let us know your pros and cons in the comments as well. And I'll see you in the next one.